when the HOA slapped a staggering $250,000 bill on my inherited ranch. My hand shook so hard I dropped the letter. It wasn't just the money. They claimed my grandpa's land. My family's legacy broke their rules. Little did I know, they had built houses on my property without my consent. My heart raced, knowing I had to fight back. If you love stories of underdogs taking on bullies, hit that subscribe button, and let's get started. I was Tom Harris, a 34-year-old mechanic from Denver, out of work after the garage I worked at shut down. Bills piled up, and Denver's high rent didn't help. Then I got a call that changed everything. My grandpa, George Harris, passed away at 87, leaving me his 100-acre ranch in Wyoming. As a kid, I spent summers there, learning to fix fences and ride horses. But as an adult, I hadn't visited in years, and the ranch felt like a distant memory. I drove out, planning to sell it to fix my money troubles. The Wyoming plains stretched wide, and the ranch looked just as I remembered, a small barn, a modest house, and fields that smelled of hay. But something was off. Beyond the property line, I saw rows of fancy new houses, all part of a development I didn't recognize. Inside the house, dust covered everything. Grandpa's old chair sat by the window, a half-read book on the table, like he'd just stepped out. I found a stack of papers on his desk, but before I could look, someone knocked. It was Mary Johnson, a neighbor in her 70s, with gray hair tied back and a tough, weathered look. "You're George's grandson, Tom," she said, shaking my hand firmly. "I'm Mary, been here 40 years. Your grandpa was a good man, fought hard against those HOA snakes." I frowned, confused. She pointed to a white envelope stuck in the door. "Read that. It's what stressed him out before he passed." I tore open. It was from the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association, demanding $250,000 for violations over 5 years. $100 for unmaintained property, $75 for farming in a residential zone, $50 for bad fencing, and thousands in legal fees. They threatened to take the ranch if I didn't pay in 30 days. "This is crazy," I said, my voice shaking. "This ranch isn't part of their fancy neighborhood." Mary nodded. "That's Diane Miller and her HOA. They started building that development 5 years ago, and when George wouldn't sell, they made his life hell, claiming his land was theirs." I sat down, stunned. How can they claim my grandpa's land? Mary's eyes narrowed. George thought their surveys were fake. He was gathering proof when his heart gave out. "Check his study. There's a folder marked property lines. He said you'd be smart enough to figure it out." I thanked her, my mind racing. That night, I couldn't sleep. The thought of Grandpa fighting alone against these bullies made my chest tight. Part of me wanted to sell and run, but another part, one that sounded like Grandpa, said this land was worth fighting for. The next morning, I found the folder in Grandpa's study. Inside was a 1950s map of the ranch, showing it stretched 300 yards farther than the HOA claimed, right into their new houses. There were photos of old fence posts now sitting in their development, and notes in Grandpa's shaky handwriting about moved markers. I felt a spark of hope, but also dread. Could I really take on an HOA with this much power? Mary stopped by again, bringing coffee. "You gonna fight, Tom?" she asked. "I have to," I said. "Grandpa didn't back down, and neither will I." She smiled. "Good. Diane's got most local lawyers scared or paid off, but George was going to try one in Casper. You should too." I nodded, gripping the folder. The HOA thought they could bully me like they did Grandpa, but they didn't know I was ready to dig in. I headed to the county records office, a dusty old building, clutching the folder like a weapon. A clerk named Susan, who remembered Grandpa, helped me pull records. "George was here a lot," she said quietly. "He knew something was wrong with Pine Ridge's surveys." She showed me the 1950s survey matching Grandpa's map, then a 2018 one from Pine Ridge that cut my land short. The difference was clear. They'd stolen 12 acres, including 20 homes and part of their community center. "Can I get a new survey to prove this?" I asked. Susan nodded. "I'll call Jim Clark, a surveyor with no ties to Diane. He can check tomorrow." I left feeling like I had a chance, but Diane's influence loomed large. What if she found out I was fighting back? My stomach churned as I drove back to the ranch, the old map and county records tucked beside me. The thought of Diane Miller and her Pine Ridge HOA stealing 12 acres of my grandpa's land made my blood boil, but I was also scared. They had money, lawyers, and half the county in their pocket. Could a broke mechanic like me really take them on? The Wyoming sky was turning orange, and I felt Grandpa's presence in the quiet fields, urging me to keep going. If you're hooked on stories where regular folks fight greedy bullies, smash that subscribe button. Things are about to get wild. The next morning, Jim Clark, the surveyor, showed up at 8 a.m. He was in his 60s, with rough hands and a no-nonsense grunt as he set up his gear. I tried chatting, but he just nodded, focused on his GPS and tape measures. We walked the property for hours, my boots kicking up dust as he checked markers against Grandpa's map. My heart raced every time he paused to scribble a note. Finally, he spread a map on his truck's hood. "Tom, your grandpa was right," he said, pointing. "Pine Ridge built 12 acres into your land, 20 homes, and half their fancy community center. It's yours." I stared, my mouth dry. "So, they're squatting on my property and finding me for it?" Jim shrugged. "Seen developers pull dirty tricks before, but this is bold. You've got a case, but you'll need a lawyer." My hope flickered. Diane had local lawyers locked down. Jim saw my worry. "Call my cousin, Laura Evans, in Casper. She's tough and doesn't bow to Diane. Tell her I sent you." I thanked him, gripping the new survey report like gold. But as Jim packed up, a black SUV slowed by the ranch, its tinted windows hiding whoever was inside. My gut twisted. Were they watching me? Back at the house, Mary was on the porch, sipping tea. I told her about Jim's findings, and her eyes lit up. "That's my George's fight coming alive," she said. "But be careful, Tom. Diane's got spies everywhere." I nodded, showing her the survey. "This proves they stole my land. I'm going to their office." Mary grabbed my arm. "Not yet. Diane's slick. She'll twist your words. Get Laura on board first." I hesitated, then agreed. I called Laura Evans, who listened quietly as I explained the finds, the stolen land, and Grandpa's fight. "Sounds like Diane's usual playbook," she said, her voice sharp. "Send me the survey. I'll meet you tomorrow." That night, I couldn't shake the image of that SUV. I double-checked the locks, my hands shaky. Around midnight, I heard a creak outside. Grabbing a flashlight, I stepped onto the porch, heart pounding. The barn door was ajar, swaying in the wind. I crept closer, shining the light inside. Nothing but hay and old tools. But on the ground, I saw fresh tire tracks that weren't mine. Someone had been here. My mind raced. Was Diane sending a message? I barely slept, clutching Grandpa's folder like a lifeline. The next day, Laura drove out, a woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense ponytail and a briefcase. She studied the survey and Grandpa's map, nodding. "This is solid, Tom. We can sue for the land and damages, but Diane won't go down easy. She'll bury us in paperwork unless we hit hard." I swallowed. "What's our move?" Laura smirked. "We confront her with the survey, but not alone. I know a reporter, Emily Parker, who'd love to expose Pine Ridge. Let's rattle Diane's cage." I liked her fire, but my nerves screamed. Diane wasn't just a bully. She was dangerous. We headed to the Pine Ridge HOA office, a shiny building with a fake log cabin vibe. Inside, a waterfall gurgled, and photos of perfect homes lined the walls. The receptionist, a young woman with a tight smile, eyed me like I was dirt. "Ms. Miller's busy," she snapped when I asked to see her. I leaned in, keeping my voice steady. "Tell her Tom Harris has proof she built on my land. She'll want to talk." Her eyes widened, and after a quick phone call, she led us to Diane's office. My palms sweated as we walked in. Diane Miller sat behind a huge desk, a woman in her 50s with sleek blonde hair and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Mr. Harris, sorry about your grandpa," she said, not standing. "I hope you're here to settle those fines." I slid Jim's survey across her desk. "You built 20 homes on my land, Ms. Miller. These fines are fake, and I want my property back." Her smile froze as she glanced at the report. "Cute, but our surveys are county approved. You're out of your league, Tom." Laura stepped forward. "We're filing a lawsuit, Diane. And the press is next. Diane laughed cold and sharp. You think a mechanic and a small-town lawyer scare me? Pine Ridge is this county's future. Jobs, taxes, progress. Your grandpa's rundown ranch is a problem, and I fix problems. Pay the fines, or we'll take the land legally. She stood, dismissing us. Or sell now. We'll offer a fair price. As we left, she called out, "Think it over, Tom. You don't want me as an enemy." My heart pounded. She knew I was a mechanic. How? The SUV, the tire tracks. Diane was watching, and I was in deeper than I thought. My hands shook as I drove back to the ranch, Laura's warning about Diane's ruthlessness ringing in my ears. The Pine Ridge HOA wasn't just greedy, they were dangerous, and I was a nobody mechanic up against a woman who owned half the county. The Wyoming stars glittered above, but I felt trapped, like a deer in a hunter's sights. Diane's words, "You don't want me as an enemy," echoed, and that black SUV from yesterday haunted me. If you're gripped by stories of regular folks facing down power-hungry bullies, hit subscribe and stick with me. This fight's about to explode. At the house, Mary waited on the porch, her face tight with worry. I told her about Diane's threats, and she cursed under her breath. "That woman's a snake, Tom. She bullied your grandpa with those fines, and now she's after you." I showed her the survey, my voice low. "She built 20 homes on my land, Mary. Laura's ready to sue, and a reporter's sniffing around." Mary's eyes gleamed. "Good. But watch your back. Diane's got people everywhere." She paused, then added, "Check Grandpa's desk again. He hid things when he knew trouble was coming." I headed to the study, my heart racing. Grandpa's desk was old, scratched from years of use. I felt under the drawers, and my fingers hit a loose panel. It popped open, revealing a small notebook. Inside, Grandpa's shaky handwriting listed dates and names, meetings with a surveyor who'd worked for Pine Ridge, marked suspicious. One entry chilled me. Diane offered $50,000 to sell. Said I'd regret saying no. My stomach dropped. Had she threatened him too? At the back, a folded letter from 1980 caught my eye, a contract with a company called Blue Creek Resources, giving them rights to a natural gas pipeline under the ranch for yearly payments. The coordinates matched the land Pine Ridge claimed. I called Laura, my voice shaky. "I found a gas pipeline contract. It proves my land stretches into their development." Laura whistled. "That's huge, Tom. Blue Creek went bust in the 90s, and Pine Ridge's parent company, Summit Ventures, bought their assets. Diane would have known about this contract. She knew she was building on your land." I gripped the phone. "She owes us years of payments, doesn't she?" Laura's voice turned sharp. "Hundreds of thousands, maybe millions. This could sink her. Bring it to my office tomorrow." That night, I barely slept. Every creak made me jump, picturing that SUV creeping closer. Around 2 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Sell the ranch or you'll lose more than land." My blood ran cold. I checked the windows, heart pounding, but saw nothing outside. Was Diane behind this? I forwarded the text to Laura, who called immediately. "Tom, that's intimidation. Save it. We'll use it in court. Stay sharp." Her words didn't ease the knot in my chest. I hid the notebook and contract under my mattress, feeling like I was in a war I didn't sign up for. The next morning, I met Laura at her Casper office, a small space crammed with files. She studied the contract, her eyes narrowing. "This is dynamite, Tom. Diane's company never paid the gas royalties, and the coordinates prove she stole your land knowingly." She leaned back. "We need more to nail her. I'm filing a public records request for Pine Ridge's old surveys. You should talk to Emily Parker, the reporter. She's hungry for a story like this." I nodded, but my nerves screamed. What if Diane's spies saw me with Emily? We drove to a diner to meet Emily, a sharp woman in her 30s with a notepad and a no-nonsense stare. I handed her the survey and contract, explaining Diane's fines and threats. Emily's pen flew across the page. "This is big, Tom. I've heard whispers about Pine Ridge bullying other ranchers, but no one's had proof like this." She leaned in. "I'll dig into Summit Ventures records, but you need to be careful. Diane's got friends in high places." As we talked, I noticed a man in a booth nearby, watching us. He looked away when I caught his eye, but my gut said he wasn't just a customer. Back at the ranch, I found a new letter taped to the door, no stamp, just my name. Inside, Pine Ridge upped their offer to buy the ranch for $1 million, calling it a one-time chance to avoid legal trouble. My hands shook as I read it. Were they desperate now that I had the contract? I called Mary over, and she snorted. They're scared, Tom. That contract's got Diane sweating. Don't take their money, fight. Her words lit a fire in me, but the stranger at the diner and that text kept me on edge. I wasn't just fighting for land anymore. This felt personal. I decided to visit the Pine Ridge development, posing as a buyer to snoop around. At their sales office, a slick agent showed me brochures, bragging about the community center. I noticed a map on the wall with boundary lines matching Grandpa's old map, not Pine Ridge's fake one. My heart raced. Can I get a copy of this? I asked casually. The agent hesitated, then printed one. As I left, I saw the same man from the diner in the parking lot, talking on his phone. He stared right at me, and I knew. Diane was closing in, and I was running out of time. My heart pounded as I sped back to the ranch, the Pine Ridge map clutched in my hand. It matched Grandpa's old survey, proving Diane Miller's HOA built on my land. But that guy from the diner tailing me made my skin crawl. Was he one of Diane's goons? The Wyoming wind howled, and I felt like I was in over my head, a mechanic against a corporate giant. If you're hooked on stories where ordinary folks battle crooked powers, hit subscribe. This is about to get crazier. At the house, I showed Mary the map. Her eyes widened. Tom, this is gold. Diane's been lying to everyone. I nodded, but my voice shook. Someone's following me, Mary. Saw him at the diner in Pine Ridge. She frowned. Diane's playing dirty. You need to move fast. I called Laura, telling her about the map and the guy. Send me a photo of that map, she said. I'm digging up some adventures, old permits. Emily's got a lead too. I snapped a picture, my hands shaky. Then I noticed something. A faint pencil mark on the map circling a gas pipeline marker right under Pine Ridge's community center. I grabbed Grandpa's notebook, flipping to the Blue Creek contract. The coordinates matched the circled spot. My jaw dropped. Diane hadn't just stolen land. She'd built her prized community center over a gas pipeline she knew was mine. If it leaked, her whole development was at risk. I texted Laura, my fingers flying. Check the community center's permits. They built on the pipeline. Laura called back, excited. Tom, if that's true, Diane's company could face millions in fines. I'll get Emily to confirm with a source. That evening, Emily called me. Tom, I found an old Summit Ventures worker, Juan Garcia. He says Diane ordered them to ignore the pipeline during construction. He's scared, but we'll talk if you meet him. My stomach twisted. Meeting a whistleblower sounded risky with Diane's spy around. Where? I asked. Old gas station midnight, she said. I'll be there too. I agreed, but my nerves screamed. What if this was a trap? I hid the map and contract in Grandpa's secret desk panel, just in case. At 11:30 p.m., I drove to the gas station, a rundown spot with flickering lights. Emily waited in her car, and Juan, a nervous guy in his 40s, stood nearby. I worked for Summit in 2018, he whispered. Diane knew about the pipeline, but said it was handled. She paid off inspectors. I showed him the map, and he nodded. That's the spot. If it leaks, those homes are toast. Emily scribbled furiously. This goes in my article, Tom. It'll blow Pine Ridge apart. But as we talked, headlights flashed. A black SUV peeled out, the same one I'd seen before. Juan bolted, and Emily grabbed my arm. Go, Tom. They're onto us. I raced home, heart hammering. The ranch was dark, but the front door was ajar. I grabbed a flashlight, my breath shallow, and stepped inside. Papers were scattered, and Grandpa's desk was open. The contract and map were gone. My knees buckled. Diane's people had broken in. But then I remembered. I texted Laura the map's photo. I called her, panicked. They stole the originals. Laura stayed calm. We've got digital copies, Tom. And Juan's statement. Meet me at the county office tomorrow. We're filing a lawsuit and going public. As I hung up, a new text buzzed from that unknown number. Last chance, Harris. Drop this or you're done. My hands shook, but anger burned hotter than fear. Diane thought she could scare me off, but she didn't know I'd found something else in Grandpa's notebook. A name, Judge Margaret Reed, with a note. Fair. Trust George. Could she help? I was out of options, and Diane was closing in fast. My heart raced as I sat in the dark ranch house, the stolen contract and map gone, Diane's threatening text glowing on my phone. The Wyoming night felt heavy, like Diane's grip on the county was choking me. I was just a mechanic, but Grandpa's notebook gave me a sliver of hope. Judge Margaret Reed's name, Mark Fair. Could she be the key to stopping Pine Ridge? If you're loving this battle against a crooked HOA, hit subscribe. Things are about to twist even more. I called Laura at dawn, my voice low. They broke in, took the originals. But I found a judge's name in Grandpa's notes, Margaret Reed. He trusted her. Laura paused. Reed's retired, but still respected. If she backs us, it's huge. I'm filing the lawsuit today, with a digital map and wand statement. Meet me at the courthouse. My stomach nodded. Filing meant going public, and Diane's spy was still out there. As I hung up, I noticed a scrap of paper under Grandpa's desk, a receipt from 2019 for a safe deposit box at First Wyoming Bank. What else had Grandpa hidden? I drove to the bank, my eyes darting to the rearview mirror for that black SUV. The clerk, an older woman named Betty, recognized Grandpa's name. George was here often, she said, handing me a key after checking my ID. In the vault, I opened the box and found a USB drive and a letter from Grandpa. Tom, if you're reading this, the HOA's after you. The drive has emails from Pine Ridge's surveyor admitting they faked the 2018 survey. Don't trust anyone. My hands shook. These emails could bury Diane. But why hadn't Grandpa used them? I raced to the courthouse, the USB burning a hole in my pocket. Laura was waiting, her face grim. Emily's article drops tomorrow, Tom. It names Juan and the pipeline. Diane's already spinning it, saying you're a liar. I showed her the USB. Grandpa saved emails from their surveyor. They proved the survey was fake. Laura's eyes lit up. This changes everything. Let's get it to Emily and file a motion to summon that surveyor. As we walked inside, I saw the guy from the diner across the street snapping photos. My blood ran cold. Diane knew every move. In the courthouse, Laura filed a lawsuit, demanding the 12 acres back and damages for unpaid gas royalties. I added the USB to the evidence, my heart pounding. The clerk, a young guy, glanced at the papers nervously. This is big, he muttered. Pine Ridge runs this town. I nodded, but my mind was on Judge Reed. I found her number in Grandpa's notebook and called, leaving a shaky voicemail. Judge Reed, I'm Tom Harris, George's grandson. I need your help against Pine Ridge. That night, Emily texted me a draft of her article, Pine Ridge's Land Grab Exposed. It detailed the fake survey, Juan's claims, and the pipeline risk. But at 10 p.m., she called panicked. Tom, someone trashed my office. They took my laptop with the article's notes. My stomach dropped. Was it Diane's people? She hesitated. I don't know, but I saved the draft online. It's still running tomorrow. I barely slept, picturing Diane's next move. At 2 a.m., my phone rang. Judge Reed. Mr. Harris, she said, her voice firm. I got your message. George was a friend. Meet me tomorrow, but be careful. Diane's desperate. The next morning, Emily's article hit, and my phone buzzed with notifications. Locals were furious, sharing the story online. But as I drove to meet Reed, a truck swerved close, nearly running me off the road. I gripped the wheel, heart hammering. It wasn't an accident. Diane was sending a warning. Reed's house was my last hope, but with Diane's goons closing in, I wasn't sure I'd make it. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel as I pulled into Judge Margaret Reed's driveway, my heart still racing from the truck that nearly hit me. Diane Miller's reach felt like a noose tightening around my neck. The Wyoming morning was crisp, but I was sweating, knowing Pine Ridge's goons were watching. Emily's article had lit a fire under the county, But Diane wasn't backing down. If you're hooked on this fight against a ruthless HOA, smash that subscribe button. The twists are about to hit hard. Judge Reed's house was modest, with a tidy lawn and a porch swing. She was in her 70s, with sharp eyes and a calm voice that cut through my nerves. "Tom, George trusted me with his suspicions about Pine Ridge," she said, pouring coffee. "Show me what you've got." I handed her the USB drive and explained the fake survey emails, the stolen 12 acres, and the gas pipeline under Diane's community center. Her face darkened. Diane's been bullying ranchers for years. These emails could force a criminal investigation. I swallowed hard. "She's already after me, break-ins, threats, that truck today." Reed nodded. "She's scared, Tom. I'll call a friend, Sheriff Dan Carter, to keep an eye on you. But we need a public move to corner her." She suggested a town hall on the disputed land, where I'd present the evidence with Emily and Laura. My stomach twisted. Facing Diane in public sounded like walking into a lion's den. "Will you come?" I asked. Reed smiled thinly. "I'll be there." George would have fought, and so will I. Back at the ranch, Laura called, her voice urgent. "Tom, the surveyor from the emails, Greg Wilson, just contacted me. He's willing to testify that Diane paid him to fake the 2018 survey, but he's terrified. We need to meet him tonight." My heart raced. Greg's testimony could seal Diane's fate, but meeting another whistleblower felt like tempting fate. "Where?" I asked. "Abandoned quarry, 9 p.m., she said. "Bring Mary for backup." I agreed, but the truck incident replayed in my mind. Was Diane setting a trap? That evening, Mary and I drove to the quarry, a dark, rocky pit under the stars. Greg was there, a nervous guy in his 50s, chain-smoking. "I faked the survey for $10,000, he confessed. "Diane said no one would check. I've got her emails saved." I showed him Grandpa's map, and he nodded. That's the real boundary. She knew. Before I could ask more, headlights flashed. A black SUV roared toward us. "Run!" Mary yelled. We dove behind rocks as the SUV sped by, kicking up gravel. Greg vanished into the dark, and my phone buzzed with another text. "Stop digging, Harris, or you won't walk away." My hands shook as we drove back. Mary cursed. "Diane's losing it, Tom. That town hall better work." I nodded, but my mind spun. Greg's testimony was huge, but he was spooked. Would he show up? At the ranch, I found a new surprise. A Pine Ridge letter offering $2 million for the ranch, signed by Diane's deputy, Paul Turner. It felt like a bribe to shut me up. I tore it up, anger burning. Then Laura texted. "Greg's in. Town hall's tomorrow. Emily's rallying residents." My heart pounded. The showdown was set, but Diane's next move could be deadly. As I locked the doors, I noticed a faint light in the barn. Grabbing a wrench, I crept out, my breath shallow. Inside, I found a laptop, Emily's stolen one, with a note. "Back off, or worse gets found." My blood ran cold. Diane was playing mind games. But why leave the laptop? Was it a trick to frame me? The town hall was hours away, and I was walking a tightrope with no net. The laptop's screen glowed in the dark barn. Diane's note, "Back off, or worse gets found," burning into my brain. My hands shook as I shut it off, the Wyoming night closing in like a trap. Was Diane framing me with Emily's stolen laptop? The town hall was hours away, and Pine Ridge's threats were piling up. I was just a mechanic, but Grandpa's fight was mine now. If you're gripped by this battle against a crooked HOA, hit subscribe. This showdown's about to explode. I slipped back to the house, hiding the laptop under the floorboards. Mary was waiting, her face grim. "Tom, you look like you've seen a ghost." I told her about the laptop and note. She cursed. "Diane's trying to scare you into quitting. Don't let her." I nodded, but my nerves were shot. I called Laura, whispering about the laptop. "Don't touch it again," she said. "It might have a tracker. Bring it to the town hall. We'll use it to show Diane's dirty tricks." My stomach twisted. Facing Diane in public with her goons around felt like suicide. At 8 a.m., the town hall site on my land was buzzing. Emily had rallied 50 residents, their pickup trucks lining the field. Laura set up a table with the survey, emails, and pipeline contract. Judge Reed arrived, her presence calming my racing heart. Sheriff Carter patrolled nearby, eyeing the crowd. But Greg, the surveyor, was late, and my gut churned. What if Diane got to him? Emily grabbed my arm. Tom, my editor, got an anonymous tip. Diane's planning to crash this with her own evidence, to discredit you. Before I could process, Diane's black SUV rolled up. She stepped out all smiles, with Paul Turner and a slick lawyer, Mark Hayes. Nice done, Tom, she called, loud enough for everyone to hear. But your proof is fake. We've got the real survey. Mark held up a folder, claiming it was county approved. The crowd murmured, and my heart sank. Diane was turning them against me. Laura whispered, "Stay calm. We've got the emails and Greg." But where was Greg? I stepped forward, my voice shaky but loud. Pine Ridge built 20 homes on my land. They faked a survey and hid a gas pipeline under their community center. I held up Grandpa's map and the USB drive. Their own surveyor admitted it in emails. Diane laughed. "You're desperate, Tom. That USB's probably forged." The crowd wavered, but then Greg's truck screeched in. He stumbled out, pale. "She paid me to lie," he shouted, pointing at Diane. "Those emails are real." The crowd gasped, and Diane's smile faltered. Laura jumped in, showing the pipeline contract. Pine Ridge owes Tom millions in royalties they never paid. Residents started yelling, demanding answers. Diane snapped, "This is a setup." But Judge Reed stood. "I've seen the evidence, Diane. Summit Ventures broke the law. Sheriff, escort Ms. Miller out." Carter moved toward her, but Paul slipped Diane a phone, and she typed furiously. My phone buzzed, a new text, "You'll pay for this, Harris." As Diane was led away, a man in the crowd, a Pine Ridge resident named Mike, shouted, "I found pipeline records in my garage. They matched Tom's contract." The crowd roared, turning fully against Diane. But my relief vanished when Emily whispered, "Tom, my laptop's gone from your house. Someone took it during the chaos." My blood ran cold. Diane was still one step ahead. The victory felt hollow. Had she planted something on that laptop to ruin me? The fight wasn't over, and Diane's last text echoed like a warning shot. The town hall crowd cheered as Sheriff Carter led Diane Miller away, but my heart pounded. Emily's stolen laptop was missing again, and Diane's last text, "You'll pay for this, Harris," felt like a bomb waiting to explode. The Wyoming sun beat down, but I was cold, knowing Pine Ridge's queen wasn't done. I was a mechanic who'd rattled the giant, and the fight was far from over. If you're hooked on this underdog story, hit subscribe. The final twists will blow you away. Laura grabbed my arm, her voice low. "Tom, we won this round. Diane's out as HOA president, and the county's investigating Summit Ventures." Judge Reed nodded nearby, promising to push for a full audit. Residents swarmed me, Mike handing over his pipeline records, proving Diane hid the gas royalties. But my eyes scanned the field. Where was that laptop? Emily whispered, "I checked my cloud backups." The laptop had a draft accusing you of forging the USB emails. Diane was going to frame you. My stomach dropped. Had her goons taken it to use later? Back at the ranch, Mary hugged me. "Your grandpa's smiling, Tom." I forced a smile, but the missing laptop gnawed at me. I searched the house, finding a hidden note in Grandpa's desk. "If I'm gone, check the barn loft." My heart raced. In the loft, I found a dusty box with a recorder and a tape labeled Diane 2019. I played it, hands shaking. Grandpa's voice argued with Diane, "You can't take my land, Diane. I've got proof." Diane hissed, "Sell, George, or you'll lose everything." My eyes burned. Her threats had stressed Grandpa into his heart attack. I called Laura, playing the tape over the phone. "This proves Diane harassed Grandpa," I said. "Can we use it?" Laura gasped. "Tom, this could lead to criminal charges. Get it to Sheriff Carter." But as I hung up, headlights flashed outside. A black SUV idled, then sped off. My phone buzzed, a photo of the laptop with a new text, "One call, and you're a forger." Drop the tape. My blood ran cold. Diane was cornered, but still pulling strings. I hid the tape under the floorboards, my mind racing. Give up or fight. The next day, I met Carter at the station, handing over the tape. Diane threatened my grandpa, I said. Carter's jaw tightened. This, plus the emails and pipeline fraud, is enough for an arrest warrant. Emily ran in breathless. Tom, my laptop was left at my office, wiped clean. Diane's covering her tracks. I nodded, but my gut said she'd strike again. Sure enough, Paul Turner called, his voice oily. Tom, Diane's offering $5 million for the ranch. Take it and the forgery story disappears. I laughed bitterly. Tell her I'm keeping the land. Weeks later, Diane was arrested for fraud and intimidation. Summit Ventures paid $2 million in back royalties, and I turned the ranch into the Harris Community Farm, teaching locals to grow food. New laws stopped HOAs from bullying ranchers, and residents volunteered, healing the community. But at the farm's opening, I found a note in my truck. I'm not done, Tom. Diane was in jail, but her reach lingered. I stood tall, knowing Grandpa's fight taught me to never back down. The lesson? Stand up to bullies, no matter how powerful. Truth and grit can topple giants, but stay sharp, they don't quit easy. I kept Grandpa's tape close, ready for whatever came next.